Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am I. My name is Joshua Ansley, and I had a pretty long day today, and I was actually about to go to sleep, completely forgetting about the vlog, honestly. And my wonderful girl was like, "Did you shoot the vlog today?" And I was like, "Holy fuck." So I had to get my ass up and do this right now, which I'm glad to do, but I was like, wow, I can't believe it's been 3 years and I almost actually forgot, and I would have forgotten, but hey, here we are. So this week, while we were moving through, light change, lighting effect, I've been moving through the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and I've been taking our weeks off in between, and this week we're going to take a week off and go over into the Bhagavad Gita for a little jaunt into the Bhagavad Gita, another ancient text often associated with yoga. I really approach it from the Vedantic philosophy. So I've been working through chapter 13, and in chapter 13, Krishna and Arjuna are having conversations. With the whole Bhagavad Gita is a conversation, basically. And so Arjuna asks a question, or actually the first verse is a question that is often omitted. It's actually put in there. It wasn't originally in there, so it's often omitted from the Bhagavad Gita. But the question is implied, because then Krishna goes and explains the answer to this question, which is this huge distinction to make, which is, the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are, it's split up into 3 different sections of 6, basically. And the first 6 are heavily into karma yoga, service, really action, right? And then the second 6 are really split up into devotion, bhakti. And chapter 13 starts this really philosophical aspect of jnana yoga. And so he starts to make the distinction, a really powerful distinction in this world about understanding the difference between kshetra and kshetrajna, right? Which is, it doesn't matter, these freaking fancy terms, it's just to show that I know what the hell I'm talking about, or some shit. So, kshetra is the field, literally means field. It's actually, Kurukshetra is the name of the battlefield that they're fighting on, which can also be a metaphor for the body, or who we are contained in this Kurukshetra. But literally it's a place, right? Kuru, the city or whatever. But it's the body. It's this field of the known, right? What can be known, and it's the distinction between what can be known and the knower, right? And this is a huge distinction to make. This is like the whole game here, because the distinction between the known and the knower, knowing what the known is. The known is everything in this created reality. So that's, this camera, that's, the ground that I'm standing on. It's everything that has ever been created in this whole created reality is the known, right? That is the field of the known. So that includes our bodies, right? That includes our thoughts, our emotions, our energies, right? So as you get into this like deep energetic work and talk about it as being spiritual work, it depends on what you just define spirit as, but in terms of this space of knowing the difference between the knower and the known, or understanding the difference between the knower and the known, that energy and all that deeper aspect of stuff has nothing to do with it. That is all part of created reality. So, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, everything that carries on in the sukshma sharira, the subtle body that carries on, all of that has nothing to do with anything but created reality. That is all in this created reality. So that is a distinction between the known and then the knower. So the knower is the consciousness by which all of these things are known. And that is a huge, huge thing, because that's exactly what we're talking about, is this space of Brahman, or the Atman, is that space of the consciousness, and then defining the attributes of this consciousness, which actually has no attributes, so you can't give it attributes. So it's kind of this paradox of trying to describe something that is literally indescribable. because it has no attributes. So we say attributeless, which is still an attribute basically in some way, but it has no boundaries. It cannot have boundaries. It is not part of this created reality. And if it's not part of this created reality, that means it has never been created and it can never be destroyed. It is eternal. It is unborn. It is undying. It cannot be born. It cannot die, which means that it cannot be wounded. It cannot be hurt. It cannot be changed. It cannot be moved. It cannot be altered. It is not relative to anything. It is everything. It is nothing. And that is the field of the knower. That is the consciousness by which everything is known, right? And that's such a huge distinction, because as we move into that space of that, it's the sakshi, the witness to all of it. And from that space of the witness, what I often talk about is that we can actually become a more active participant in our lives when we become that witness. So it's that strange paradox, is becoming the witness. It's not moving into a space of dissociation. It's actually moving into a space of being able to remove yourself into that space of absolute steadiness that is relative to nothing. And from that space of observing, you can actually change and make any modifications or adjustments in this created reality, in your thoughts and your, shaky, in your thoughts and in your emotions, so that you can see and choose which way you want to live, to choose a better way of living or not, right? So it is such an incredibly powerful, it's a really, really philosophical understanding, but it is actually quite practical and pragmatic. It's the alpha and the omega. I've talked about that before, the beginning and the end, because it's that piece of information that takes us on this journey to say, okay, I want to understand that, is that space of enlightenment, that space of understanding, or because it's not even understanding, it's, you can understand that information, but then it's an experiential thing to become that. This is a space that cannot be known. It can't be known, right? Because only the known can be known, and this is something that is the knower. It is not in the field of the known, which is pretty philosophical. But as you move into that space, that's where is the alpha and the omega. That information is actually starting from that and then ending up in being that space. So it's a state of, it's an ontological understanding of being a human being, right? And what the power of what that is to move outside of all of our opinions, our thoughts, our dysfunction, our programming, everything that sways, our preferences, that sways in one direction or another. It is outside of all that, is completely unhindered by anything. So it doesn't just mean that you don't become stoic necessarily, right? Stoicism is a whole other thing that could be attributed in that direction, because as you move in that direction, but it's not. It actually allows you to step into life more fully, because you can experience all the things that you're actually ignoring or moving away from or running from, and you allow that to actually flow through you. And then you can change and adjust what needs to be changed so you can live the fullest possible potential in this life from that space of the observer, because it lets you step into all your biggest challenges. It lets you step into the deepest areas of your lives. What is that? Look at that bug. There it goes. Woo! All right. So that is the difference between kshetra and kshetrajna. That is an incredibly powerful distinction to be making, to know that you are the consciousness by which everything is known. And if you really work into that space, and you work with that on a regular basis, I mean all the time, right? Moving into that space. When you move into that space of the knower, not denying the known, but then embracing the known, but your understanding of the known and your relationship to the known will be completely different. So most of us are just in the known, and such a tiny little portion of the known. So when you become the knower, that knower is actually prevalent in everything. It is a substratum of all the known, so you actually grow into being able to know all. It is omniscient and omnipresent, right? So as you move into that space, you can actually embrace all of the known. And that's when you can actually expand into living the fullest possible life. So, chew on that shit. In Lakesh Lakin, I am you, you are me. Namaste. What? Too much?